Hi, everybody. It's Andra and Karen from Kitchen Chats, and we want to
Ah,
remind you that if you like and hear what you see here, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell. So, Karen and I were talking last week when we said that we're going to start covering disease processes because we think there's a lot of people out there that really either can't get into the doctor, don't have good access to quality health care, or leave the doctor's office more confused when they walked in. So we want to be a resource so that if you have questions that you could reach out to us and ask. So we had suggested heart disease, and Karen and I were just briefly talking about it. So we're going to discuss that. Do you know that more than 20 million people over the age of 20 suffer from just coronary artery disease alone? So those numbers are alarming. And it's still the number one heart disease in the world, in the US since 1950. So that's pretty scary. So what do you think about that? Those numbers are scary, right?
yeah, it's really scary. And just recently, just in my field of practice, and of course, watching the news, I've even seen younger people from young to more mature age have heart attacks, have cardiac conditions, whether it is a full blown heart attack or some symptom that could lead to a stoppage of the heart. It's just alarming to me because you never want to see anyone have a heart attack or have a heart condition, but when you see younger people have it, it makes it that much more a concern, of what is going on, whether it's a diet, whether it's stress, whether it's something that was pre-existing that wasn't picked up in their childhood and now developed as they began to develop. I know prior to you putting your kids, because I have two kids of my own, prior to you putting them in school, you do need a physical. So they do physicals at their doctors, or prior to them joining a sport or going to a camp, you do physicals. But I don't know if they focus so much on, and I don't believe so, on the heart and its function. They're not doing blood work, to test for any heart enzymes that may be out of whack, for lack of a better word or for a common word, may not be up to par. So I think it's something that we do need to look into together with prevention, together with interventions. If a child or an adult does have a heart attack somewhere, how do we give the best results after the heart attack to make sure that they can possibly rehabilitate back to their prior level of function?
Yeah, I think what you're saying, Karen, is very true. They're not testing for it. And the reason being, for the same reason you just said, because of their age. Age is their factor. But age is no longer a factor in any disease process, because if they have a genetic condition that's passed down,
Right.
then they have more of the likelihood to take it. There are several diseases that are passed down through the mother and several that are passed down on the male gene. So they should look at that, because
Right.
we talk about risk assessment, and you need to really do the risk of not doing that lab, doing a thorough assessment. So the child may present to you at 6 years old, but they might have missed something in his years when he was going for shot at 1 or 2 or 3. So doctors need to be more thorough and do that assessment and not look at his age, because part of us don't want to believe that a child can get sick. So
Right.
we don't really look at it the way we should, but it can happen to someone at really any age. You were just talking before we aired about the football player, and neither of us are big football fans. We don't watch it religiously, let's say. So we had to look up Demon's
Demar.
Demon Demar Hamlin's
Mm-hmm.
name. My husband is an avid football player. I used to
So it's
watch it a lot as a kid, but we slack off as we get older. So he was on the field, and nobody thought, because of his age, that something like this could really happen, and then you were also saying that they think it's COVID related because COVID can cause clotting issues and stuff like that. And I just
Mhm.
want to tell you honestly, they don't know the effects of what
No,
COVID costs.
yeah.
This
It's
is a
gonna be a
whole
while.
this is a
Hmm.
whole new breed. Okay. So this is um this is like the mother of the common cold. So we've never been able to eradicate the common cold. So I knew when this little mama came along that we were going to be getting shots every year, just like the flu. I knew it then, you know what I mean? Because our nurses' heads always go there, and people like,
Right.
oh no, they're gonna, and I was like, yeah, whatever. You all right.
Mhm.
So you just have to like use judgment and common sense because people don't want to hear that, even though that is the likelihood. And we have to protect ourselves the best we can. We don't know the effects that even the shots will have. There are a lot of people that are worried because they have autoimmune diseases and they have other disease processes that they're afraid that will interact. And I think that should be their right. You know, how you live or how you die. I think they do take back a lot of our rights that we work so hard for as we've come through the decades. But I think something like basic rights of how you want to live or die should be ours.
Right.
So when we look at heart disease, that has a lot to do with our rights because it is your right to live your life the way you choose to. But people really need to understand the consequences of their actions. So I
Mhm.
think the best way to really do that is to educate them because heart disease is the number one killer in the United States and it's a preventable disease.
It
A
is.
lot of it, uh, aside from having genetics, and predisposition, it's from excess alcohol use. Smoker. I was a big smoker. When we were kids, who was at the bar, knocking them back. So, we kind of take these things on and then say, oh, how did this happen to me? Well, it's been there all along. You don't
Mhm.
inability to exercise or lack of exercise. Some people can't. They have other processes where they can't do vigorous activity, and that's not by any fault to their own. But poor diet and poor diet choices, that's a big thing. I run a group, Karen, and I talk about all different disease processes. I started it for weight loss and kind of got away from me. Everybody said, she's a nurse. I want to know this and I want to know that,
Mhm.
So I started talking about heart disease, cancer, everything you could possibly think of. And everything that when they tell you like at the end, everything, all the diseases that I covered, all of the prevention was diet, exercise, lifestyle choices for
Right.
everything. So I
Right.
said,
Mhm.
it sounds crazy, but all of these, there's one thing in common with all of them. They're all preventable.
Right.
So
Right.
we do get to choose how we show up. Does that mean that at 50 years old or 40 years old, it's too late to start? No, you could absolutely reverse a lot of your disease processes by incorporating better habits, better
Yeah.
behaviors.
Yeah.
If your ejection fraction is that's a different story. Certain things you can't get back.
Mhm.
So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I totally agree. I want to say, like anything in life, you get out what you put in. So what we put into our bodies directly affects how we're gonna function, how your heart functions, how your liver functions, how your kidney. It's gonna directly affect how your body functions. I think about times when I overeat junk food, like when I had that key lime pie or that cinnamon bun, and then I try to go to the gym right after. I'm just not performing as I could if I had like a fruit drink, or energy drink and ate a salad, so or some protein. You're just not gonna get out positive if you put in negative, and that's anything in life. That's health, that's marriage, that's relationships, friendships, anything, work, and school. You can't get out something that you didn't put in. If you didn't study, you can pray. Like someone told me yesterday, you can be touched by God. However, you may not pass that test.
Right.
So um,
I
you're
love that.
absolutely you're absolutely correct about that. So you're right to teach about diet in relation to health because it is what it is. I want to tell you, my husband's cholesterol has been high. He has some genetic dispositions because his family does have some high cholesterol. So recently he did go in and get tested, and his labs were high. They wanted to put him on medication. And my husband's young, and he's young, he's in his 40s. I'm not always pro medication if I see the diet is not right. My husband loves meats. He loves steaks. He can, like you said, he could throw back a steak. He could throw back many things. He's a big guy. So what I said to him was, why change your diet in 3 months or 4 months, go back and let's retake the labs. Let's ask the doctor to retake the labs. So that's what he did. Believe it or not, his cholesterol went down 20 points. I'm talking about his HDL, LDLs, and his overall cholesterol went down 20 points. He removed meats from his diet. He drank more water, ate more vegetables, and it did what his body put out, what he put in. So that's the bottom line in life,
when he goes back in
general.
Yeah, but when you go back in 6 months, they're going to be even better. And the HDL is good. You want your HDL, I used to remember them in nursing school because H is healthy and L is lethal, right? So that's how I used to remember them. I used to come up with all these things so I could tell the difference and stuff like that. But that's your healthy cholesterol. So that you want to be higher. Some people are really low, like 23. Mine is actually really good. And I do eat foods that people think that are not good for their cholesterol. A lot of people think that eggs are bad for their cholesterol, but they actually have an enzyme in them that pulls cholesterol out of your body. So eggs are very good. They're also the best source of protein. So people, that lack of knowledge there again. So what I do want to just address when we talk about heart, people, I'd like to talk about the body as a system, because I know you're gonna really connect to what I'm saying here. When I talk to people about their health, they say, "Oh, I just have the diabetes," or "I just have kidney problems," or "I just have this," and they really don't understand that it's a closed system, that you don't pick and choose like, oh, I can keep this over here and I can keep that over there, that they all work together. So all of our systems are independent of each other. I mean, that's very true, but they're codependent on each other, which means that if they work together, so that if one fails, the others have to work harder to take on the stress of the one that's not doing good, especially like the kidneys. So if you are having trouble with your heart or your kidneys, your heart is going to shunt blood there first to get that up and running. So it does put unnecessary stress on your whole body. And people say, "Oh, I just got diabetes. Oh, I just got this." And I'm like, but it's screwing up your whole body. It's putting stress. So, I'm all about making things simpler and not working harder if I don't have to, and I know you're that. Listen, we've worked together before, and we always found the shortest distance between two lines to get all of those patients up and running and in the best shape that they needed to be. So I know that we are from the same minds. But so I don't know how to, and I'm out there talking about it, because people don't understand that when their heart is not functioning, that's putting unnecessary pressure on their kidneys, because your kidneys is your blood pressure, that is your water balance, that is and your water and your fluid balance is what gets your blood and everything circulating. So when it's not just your heart, so you really have to look at this whole picture and say, how can I eat for this, so. And in America today, we have the most nutrient poor foods that we've ever had anywhere. And they're available to everybody. And unfortunately, everything goes up. The job market is not what it should be. Prices are always up, 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 up. The salary is not the thing that's going up. And people are paying so much more for what they used to have. So people do cut corners and they buy things that they can afford that aren't necessarily good for them, because they care and they want to feed their families. And I get that. So we have to find something between where we can do both, but in a healthy manner. You know what I mean?
Yep, I agree. I totally agree. I think about some of my clients and at my position. When they don't have food, I give them numbers to the food banks because there's food banks. There's churches that give out fresh foods. There's Meals on Wheels. If you do qualify, they'll deliver fresh foods, healthy meals. So there's different ways out if you can't afford it or if you just don't have it. There are different places that you can go, pantries, food pantries you can go to, and you can reach out to Andra and I, and we can give you different ways or opportunities where you can get food, healthy foods if you do need it. Because food is a part of it as well with exercise. With poor diet and poor exercise, it's like a double whammy. You know, you're kind of waiting for something to happen. Like Andra said, it is a closed system. So if your heart is not working, not functioning right, your kidneys aren't going to function right, your liver is not going to function right, and these are major organs that we need to function that we don't even think about. You know, we're just functioning, you know, the way that God allows us to, but they all are working together to make us whole. And then you think about mental health, right? So when you think about, okay, if my heart is not functioning right now, my kidney's not functioning right, you're not thinking right. You're
No,
not.
you're not. You're not, because your body is not, if your blood, so if your heart is not working right and you have high blood pressure, then your heart is beating at a rate that is not good for an extended period of time. Okay. So that puts a lot of stress on the heart, and then the kidneys have to kick in to help the heart keep that function normal to sustain your life and really provide shelter from harm for you. So, and then what happens is that, that blood isn't getting to that brain because your heart just can't do it the way it used to. So little less and less and less. It affects your circulation. The quality and the force of contraction of your heart really decides how much blood is going where. So, and then what happens is the different valves, they start to malfunction and they decrease. And then instead of acting at 60% capacity, now your heart's acting at 40% capacity. So this does have an effect over a long time. So hypertension is not the worst thing in the world to be diagnosed with, but it should be a trigger for you to look at your health. It should be okay. So some people are predisposed, and it is genetics and it is cultural, because we are a product of our environment. So we do eat things that we were culturally raised with. So we sometimes we have to sway away from that, or we have to have better versions of our cultural foods.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you see that your parents have hypertension and high cholesterol, your grandparents have it, sometimes we're like, okay, well, it's coming my way anyway. Well, they gotta stop. It has to stop somewhere, right? So if you look at your family line and maybe the foods that they were eating, you need to stop those foods so your kids and your kids' kids don't have to deal with that chronic condition in your family that seems to be developing. And I want to take it back a little bit as well. If your doctor does say that you are hypertensive, because to be diagnosed with hypertension, you have to have a certain blood pressure for 2 consecutive times, and you get the diagnosis hypertension. Once that happens and a doctor does prescribe you antihypertensive medication or antilipidemics, that's medication to bring down your blood pressure and to bring down your cholesterol, the 2 things that can harm your body's blood function, your heart function. We're not telling you not to take the medication. What we're here for is to educate you on it. And we do believe that prevention is better than cure. So we're here to say, okay, let's find ways where you won't have to deal with that potential diagnosis. Or if you get the potential diagnosis, let's find ways where we can continue to be healthy with, and maybe you can go back to the doctor and not need to continue to take that medication. Yep.
Yes, we always want to gear more towards prevention, because once you're sick, it becomes symptom management. And and then you get lost in that cascade where the doctors are giving you medicine, and then you need another medicine and another medicine. And every medication, I just want to put this out there because this is a fact. Every medication has side effects. Okay. These are not things that are naturally occurring in your body. They're synthetic, and they're made to work in your body but your body is going to process them very differently than your body making them. So there are side effects. So if you can prevent these things from happening by changing your diet, like your husband going and saying, okay, let me try this eat. So a lot of doctors prescribe hypertensives right away, and I'm not okay with that, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not okay with my blood pressure is so low, girl. The doctor said I don't even know how you're standing. I said, listen, I'm okay. Don't worry about
Right.
it. You know?
Right.
And it's always like that. So true funny story. My husband and I took him when I started working for the city. They want you to go and have your heart checked and all that stuff. And um I went to the doctor, and I absolutely loved him. And he does the echo, he does everything, and he explains everything to you, how the heart is functioning and everything, which I haven't seen a doctor do in forever. So he was one of those old school doctors, and I loved it.
I love them. I love the old school doctor.
And I'm sitting there listening to him, and he said, wow, he said, you're going to live to be about 120. And my husband was with me, and he said, well, that's great. He said,
I believe
yeah,
them.
but not so much. He said, your tests weren't so good. He said, so she's going to live to be 120, but she's going to be alone if you don't start taking some action. So, it's just heart disease does run in my husband's family. And even though I am in health, you can lead a camel to water. Is that how that expression goes? But
You can
you
lead the
can't
horse to
force
water,
them.
you can't make them drink. Yeah.
You can't force him to drink, So
Right.
I do my best to always have the best foods in the house that are good quality choices. But he still comes in with that cake, he was told he was pre-diabetic, so, and he's always eating bagels and English muffins, and not one or two, but three of them. But he's that tall, lanky guy that can eat whatever he wants now, but it's within, so I just have to stop buying that stuff, but he doesn't stop him from going out and getting it if he wants to. So, you
True.
can encourage people and teach
True.
and educate and try to elevate, but they're
That's true.
only going to go as far as they want to go. So that's what
Mhm.
this channel is really about, guys. We want to give you the best information, because you can't make an informed decision without really having all the knowledge there, So when you go to the doctor and he says, oh, you have to take a hypertensive medicine. So now you know that you can really try to correct it with diet first.
Mhm.
1 or 2 high blood pressure readings are not that bad. You can try to really reduce your salt intake, absolutely, because that's gonna send your blood pressure up right away. Stay away from that Chinese food that you love so much.
Oh my goodness. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Chinese food.
So all
That
that stuff, and it can make a difference between life and death. So we're going to be talking a lot more about heart disease, because there's a lot of different areas to really cover. There are diets, a lot of people talk about the DASH diet, because that's a low salt diet. So if
yeah, we need to
you
continue to talk about it. There's a lot to cover, as you said, in heart
Yeah,
disease.
because there's when the valves fail, there's like so many things to do. There's coronary artery disease, and that has a lot to do with that close cholesterol numbers. So you can really, really prevent these things. So when you have coronary artery disease, what happens is your arteries are just like little straws,
Yeah.
and the blood is going through it and going through it and going through it. And now all that fat that you've been eating is now in your blood, and it's making it really hard for the blood to get through those areas. So that's what's happening, and that's how people get blocked. So it's good to have good fats. A lot of people have phobias, a fat phobia, but you have to have lean, healthy fats. So, weigh the pros and cons of what you're eating. Do I really need this 16-ounce steak? Maybe I'll be okay with a 4 or a
Right.
6-ounce.
My husband loves some steaks, honey, but now it's
Yeah.
occasional.
The other thing too is where you get them. So
That
if
part.
you're getting them at a place that's not selling quality protein and meat, then
Mhm.
you're not getting the best. All right, guys. So this is me and Karen. Karen, is there anything that you want to close out with today?
Well, yeah, I do want to close out with the Demar Hamlin situation. It was God said that they were able to resuscitate him pretty much right away. They were able to get on the field, and time is of the essence when your heart does stop. So they were able to get on the field and resuscitate him. And what I'm seeing in the news is that he is doing much better. What I want to leave us with is, of course, prayer makes a difference. I believe the whole world came together and was praying for this young guy, and that also takes a part in his recovery. So I want to say diet prevention is key. Diet, exercise, and prayer.
Prayer is good, but I want to let you know that it doesn't hurt if you are trained in CPR too. So Karen is one of our avid trainers, but it does help because you never know where you're going to be. There's been a few times in my life where even when my daughter was choking, that I was lucky that I was there, and that I do know CPR and I knew exactly what to do, and that I've seen somebody just drop and had to do CPR, so as nurses we get it a lot indoors at our jobs, but you never know when it can occur. So it is a nice thing to learn at least once so that you can protect your family members and other people, because if this was you and you fell and dropped and your heart stopped, you would want people to stop and help you. So we have to learn to be the community we used to be, where we be the kind of people we want to see in the world. So that's where change really starts. And prayer helps everything.
Everything. Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that you said that. All right, guys, thanks for popping in and talking with us for a little while. We love coming in and spending time with you. We hope you have a great week and take care. Say bye.